Hey guys, we have an exciting week this week. Heading down to Rocking Horse with 5 horses, and as you can tell, I'm a little bit under the weather, so the vlog for this week, I'll sound a little bit different, but have some really cool stuff with riding bridleless with Sharpie, and then of course we'll have more footage to come for next week from the competition of Rocking Horse. So make sure to stay tuned and always hit the like, subscribe button. This was one of my rides on Sharpie this week where I played with bareback and bridleless, and I really like to start off by stretching my horses, which I kind of forgot to do this before I got on them. So once I got into the arena, I just popped off and started to stretch them. I do find that this is a good way to really get your horses to trust you. Now, I'm not pulling, I'm just kind of letting him dictate how far he wants to stretch. And I do this for all 4 legs. And I've had a fair amount of groundwork with him, so he knows how to stand still while I move to the back. Now, again, I just let him kind of go as far as he wants. And what's nice is for this left hind, you can see he really stretches and flexes that pelvis and gets a good stretch. Then I press right along the top of the tail head and the spine to get him to roll up and to stretch his back. And now I'm just playing with a little bit of draw, getting him to come to the cavaletti. And here he kind of loses me, but I still have his eye. So instead I just kind of use that little mistake to get him to come to me as another play on the draw. And then I get him to come over to the cavaletti. I always like to try to teach my horses to come to me when I stand up on things. And with this being his 4th bridleless ride, I always like this work to be really bonding and relaxing. So I do a lot of walking. You'll see me do a lot of rubbing and scratching. You really want this to be calming, as well as working on transitions such as stopping. So here you see I press my legs forward and that moves my seat bones. So that's the beginning of the cue for the stop, which I really like to implement in the beginning. And there's a lot of reiteration of getting that stop and then the back. So here you see I go into the trot. And then when he starts trotting, he wants to go just a touch quick, so I want him to go a little slower. So again, I'm just working on that calming. We want everything to be just a tad bit slower and kind of like la-ti-da. And then I work on changing direction. So you see, kind of hold it like your reins with the neck rope and just place it on their neck and then close your outside leg, as well as opening off the inside leg. So you're kind of making a wall. And I've really enjoyed working with this guy. He really has been a pleasure. And as you can see, he just trots right over the tarp like no big deal. And so again, I go back to changing my directions, working on my leg aids, and I'm really trying to not use the neck rope as much as possible. So there I did another stop cue. So you saw my legs kind of shifted, and that shifts your pelvis back. While I'm riding, it's really important that when I am going forward, that my seat is very straight, because then your horses become very sensitive to your seat. And you can also train them that when you want to go forward, you kind of tilt your pelvis just a little bit forward. We're just talking like very subtle. And then he pops into the canter quite nicely. So you'll notice I do a lot of circle work. It really is kind of more comfortable to stay around the 20-meter mark when you're first starting off bridleless, because you kind of have more control. But as you can see, I can take him on the bigger full-size arena, and he's pretty good about staying in the same rhythm. And then I start sticking my hand out to the side. He did get a little nervous the first couple of times I did this, but it's just getting him used to my hands kind of in his sight. And again, I just like to touch push my legs forward, and I got a good stop without even having to touch the neck rope. So then I go back and really pat and reward. And you see I got to lick and chew and rub. And then you reiterate your stop with the backing up. So then your horse is almost thinking of the back before you stop. Because again, when you're riding bareback and bridleless, the stop is the most important tool to have with your horse. So I really try to focus on that in the beginning. And it also comes with a fair amount of trust. You have to be able to trust your horse, and your horse has to be able to trust you as well. So I tend to be pretty confident with my horses and just have faith that they're going to like what I do. And here you can see I'm just changing directions, using my outside leg to steer him, remembering about that wall. And now I'm going to ask for the canter. He kind of ran maybe a little bit into it, but that is still a little difficult for him, is picking up those transitions. So that just takes practice and work. Again, it's like doing push-ups, and sometimes that's hard for certain horses in the beginning. And again, I'm going back and practicing with my arms going off. And it's really good practice as far as balance as well. That's why I really like to do this work along with the saddle work. So there you saw I asked for the stop, and he kind of walked a couple of steps. So I really am just bumping his shoulders with my feet. I'm not doing anything hard, just bumping until he stops and backs up. So for the next stop, he'll want to be thinking about the stop even better. And I got pretty brave today and decided that, well, the cavaletti's there. I might as well just pop over it and see what he does. So he actually handled it really well. I started off just walking over the cavaletti and then build to the trot, and you stop after every time when you're building that foundation of control, of having them think about stopping. And anytime you do any type of more adrenaline work, you have to take the time to kind of stop and get them to calm back down. But for editing purposes, so this isn't an hour long, those kind of are taken out. So now I've picked up the canter because I feel pretty confident with him staying straight. That's kind of the first thing you want to teach them, and he pinged it perfectly. So I was really having fun with him. He really is a cool horse. Like these war horses, you can't beat them. They're really, really cool horses. And he even starts to frame up a little bit. You see I've got my left leg really wrapped around him, trying to help him turn there. And I find this work really good for them because even if they break to the trot and jump it, like it's okay. You just want to stay in the center, stay in balance with the horse. And then that time that stop was a lot better. And I give him a good rub and let him just kind of sit there and calm down for a little bit. And again, like I said before, I really like to then take the time and just walk them around, get him to calm down and relax. And he did really good. You can see that tarp is kind of flapping around. It was a pretty windy day to be riding bareback and bridleless. And then near the end of the session, I just go back and focus on turning. So here I'm just trying to get his shoulder to lift up when I go to press on the outside aid of that outside leg. And you see I've got the inside leg, and he lifted up the shoulder right there. And so I'm going to reward that. I really do find doing the bareback and bridleless work really important in helping my horses progress in their training and just getting them to really listen to my body. And it's really fun to bond with your horse, and it's probably one of my favorite things when I have a horse that like really enjoys to doing the work. And again, like doing these sessions near the end where you just want a low energy, but it really is quite fun.